People think I'm competitive on the basketball court, Michael Jordan said, adjusting his custom suit. But I'm more competitive in the boardroom. On the court, the game ends after 48 minutes. In business, the game never ends. He smiled that killer instinct smile. And I hate losing more than I love winning. That mindset built a billion-dollar empire that has nothing to do with basketball. Tonight, I'm having dinner with Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest basketball player of all time, and the first athlete to become a billionaire primarily through business ventures rather than sports earnings. We're at an upscale steakhouse in Chicago, his adopted home city, and he's about to reveal how the same mentality that dominated basketball courts became the foundation for building one of the most valuable personal brands in history. Tell me about that competitive mindset in business, I said, genuinely curious about how athletic excellence translates to entrepreneurial success. Jordan leaned back, that familiar intensity flickering in his eyes. Competition is competition, whether you're facing Magic Johnson or negotiating with Nike executives. The fundamentals are the same: preparation, execution, and refusing to accept anything less than excellence. But business seems so different from basketball. On the surface, yes, but strip away the details and it's about the same thing: winning. In basketball, winning means championships. In business, winning means building something that lasts, something that generates value long after you stop actively participating. He took a sip of wine, then continued. The difference is stakes and timelines. In basketball, you can have a bad game and bounce back the next night. In business, one bad decision can cost you millions and take years to recover from. When did you first realize you could apply your competitive drive to business? 1984, the Nike deal. That's when I learned the difference between being talented and being smart about talent. Converse offered me a standard endorsement deal, some money, some shoes, typical athlete arrangement. Adidas wasn't much better. What made Nike different? Jordan's eyes lit up with the same fire I'd seen in countless game highlights. Sonny Vaccaro and Phil Knight didn't just offer me money, they offered me partnership, equity in the company, my own signature shoe line, royalties on every pair sold. Nobody had ever done that for a basketball player. Everyone thought you were crazy for choosing Nike. Everyone except my mother, he laughed. Dolores Jordan understood something I was just beginning to learn. Ownership changes everything. She looked at those Nike terms and said, "Michael, they're not just buying your talent, they're investing in your future." What was the deal structure? $500,000 per year for 5 years, plus stock options, plus royalties on Air Jordan sales, plus my own signature shoe. At the time, it seemed impossible. Nike was third in basketball behind Converse and Adidas, but that's exactly why it was brilliant. How so? When you're the underdog, you have to take bigger risks. Nike needed me more than Converse did. That desperation became leverage. They were willing to give me terms that the established companies wouldn't consider. The waiter brought our appetizers. Jordan had ordered oysters, staying true to his refined tastes. Walk me through the early years of Air Jordan. 1985, Air Jordan 1 launched. Nike projected we'd sell $4 million worth in the first year. We sold $126 million. That's when everyone realized we weren't just selling shoes. We were selling a lifestyle, an aspiration. What made Air Jordans different from other basketball shoes? Everything. The design was revolutionary. Bold colors, innovative materials, performance technology. But more than that, we told a story. This wasn't just about basketball performance. It was about excellence, about pushing limits, about being uncommon amongst uncommon people. That phrase, uncommon amongst uncommon people, where did that come from? That's how I viewed competition. Everyone in the NBA is elite, but even among elite athletes, there are levels. I wanted to operate at a level that separated me from other great players. The same philosophy applied to Air Jordan. How did you maintain that standard? Obsessive attention to detail. Every aspect of the shoe, the marketing, the packaging, had to represent excellence. I was involved in design meetings, commercial shoots, marketing strategy. Some people thought I was being a control freak. Were you? Jordan grinned. Absolutely. But that's what excellence requires. You can't delegate your standards to other people and expect them to maintain your level of commitment. When did you realize Air Jordan could become bigger than basketball? Our early 1990s. We were selling shoes to people who had never played basketball in countries where basketball wasn't popular. That's when I understood we had transcended sports. We had become a cultural phenomenon. How did that change your business approach? It taught me about brand power. Michael Jordan, the basketball player, would retire eventually, but Michael Jordan, the brand, could be eternal. That's when I started thinking beyond shoes. What came next? Diversification. Restaurants, car dealerships, real estate investments, but the big move was buying the Charlotte Hornets in 2010. Why NBA ownership? Several reasons. First, I understood the business intimately. Player salaries, revenue streams, market dynamics. Second, I could influence the product in ways that pure investors couldn't. Third, it was the ultimate expression of competitive success in basketball. What's it like going from player to owner? Completely different perspective. As a player, you focus on individual and team performance. As an owner, you're thinking about ticket sales, TV contracts, salary caps, fan experience, community impact. Much more complex. The main course arrived. Jordan had ordered a perfectly prepared ribeye, cooked exactly to his specifications. How has the business landscape changed since your playing days? Social media changed everything. When I played, you controlled your brand through traditional media, TV commercials, print ads, controlled interviews. Now, athletes can build direct relationships with fans, but they can also destroy their brand with one stupid tweet. How would you navigate social media if you were playing today? Very carefully. I'd probably have a team managing my digital presence. The upside is enormous. Direct access to millions of fans, real-time feedback, global reach. But the downside is equally enormous. One mistake can go viral and define your legacy. Speaking of legacy, how do you want the Jordan brand to be remembered? Excellence without compromise. Whether it's shoes, clothing, or any product with the Jumpman logo, it should represent the highest standard. Price might be premium, but value should be even higher. What about social responsibility? How important is that for the Jordan brand? Increasingly important. Today's consumers, especially younger ones, care about what companies stand for beyond profit. We've increased our community investments, supported social justice initiatives, funded education programs. Was that always part of your vision? Honestly, no. Early in my career, I focused purely on basketball and business success. But as you gain wealth and influence, you realize you have responsibilities beyond personal achievement. How do you balance profit with purpose? They're not mutually exclusive. Supporting communities, creating opportunities for underprivileged kids, addressing social issues, these activities can also strengthen your brand and expand your market. Let's talk about mentorship. You've worked with younger athletes on business ventures. That's one of my favorite aspects now. Sharing what I've learned about leveraging athletic success into business success. Too many great athletes retire broke because they never learned the business side. What's the most important lesson you share? Ownership versus employment. Playing sports makes you an employee, highly paid but still trading time for money. Business ownership creates assets that generate income forever. How do you evaluate business opportunities now? Same criteria I used for basketball. Can I compete at the highest level? Do I understand the fundamentals? Can I add unique value? If the answer to any of those is no, I pass. What's been your biggest business mistake? Probably being too conservative early on. I could have taken bigger risks with larger potential payoffs. But my Depression-era upbringing made me prioritize security over maximum growth. Any examples? I passed on several technology investments in the late 90s and early 2000s that would have been incredibly valuable. I understood traditional businesses better than emerging technologies. How do you evaluate opportunities in sectors you don't understand? I rely on trusted advisors who do understand them. But I also apply basic business principles. Does it solve a real problem? Is there a sustainable competitive advantage? Can it scale profitably? What about the next generation of athletes? What advice do you give them? Think like an owner from day one. Your athletic career is relatively short, but your business career can last decades. Start building your post-sports empire while you're still playing. How should they approach endorsement deals? Negotiate for equity whenever possible. Cash is great, but ownership compounds over time. Also, align with companies whose values match yours, because that partnership will define your brand. What role does failure play in business success? Jordan's expression became more serious. Failure is data. In basketball, missing shots tells you about your technique, your preparation, your decision-making. In business, failed investments or unsuccessful ventures teach you about market dynamics, customer behavior, operational efficiency. How do you handle business failures differently than basketball failures? Basketball failures happen in public, with immediate feedback. Business failures often develop slowly and privately. The key is recognizing problems early and adjusting quickly, rather than waiting for public failure. What drives you now that you've achieved financial success beyond imagination? Competition never ends. Now I'm competing with other business leaders, other brand builders, other investors. The game is different, but the drive to win remains the same. Is there anything left that you want to prove? That athletic excellence can translate into business excellence at the highest level. There are successful athlete entrepreneurs, but I want the Jordan brand to be mentioned alongside Nike, Apple, Disney, companies that shaped culture, not just sports. How do you define success now? Sustainability and impact. Building something that continues growing and creating value long after I'm gone. Legacy isn't just about what you accomplished, it's about what continues after you. What's your daily routine like now? More strategic, less operational. I spend time on high-level decisions, relationship building, and identifying new opportunities. But I still maintain the discipline and work ethic that made me successful in basketball. Final question. If you could go back and give your 22-year-old rookie self one piece of business advice, what would it be? Jordan paused, considering. Think bigger. I was focused on being the best basketball player I could be, which was important. But I should have been thinking simultaneously about building the best business empire I could build. The two goals aren't competing, they're complementary. How so? Excellence in basketball gave me a platform for business success, but I could have been more intentional about leveraging that platform from the beginning. Start building your post-playing career while you're still playing. As dinner concluded, Jordan reflected on the journey from basketball courts to boardrooms. The same mentality that drove me to 6 championships drives me in business: preparation, execution, and an absolute refusal to accept anything less than winning. The venue changed, but the standard never did. This evening with Michael Jordan reinforced my understanding that true competitive greatness isn't sport-specific. It's a mentality that can be applied to any field where excellence matters. His transition from athletic dominance to business empire shows that the principles of winning are universal. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the other videos to hear the most private dinner conversations where billionaires reveal their deepest secrets. Which part inspired you the most? Drop it in the comments. Let's figure out how to become billionaires together.